All right, I want to revisit yesterday's non-events with President Biden and the oil company people. Joining me now is Kansas Senator Roger Marshall. Senator Marshall, always good to see you, sir. Thank you for your time Friday afternoon. I just want to revisit this. I don't want to let this go. So let me get this right. You had the biggest oil company CEOs who could actually help produce more gasoline, for example, and add supply, lower the price, take a whack at Putin. And then Biden doesn't go, and he won't talk to them. He sends them to the boondocks in the energy department, right, which, as I said earlier in the show, looks like a 1970s public housing project. And then in the White House, in the beautiful Roosevelt room, right, Biden sits with the windmill makers and never talks to the oil and gas people at all. What do you make of that, Senator?
Larry, I don't know what to think of it. That's the question I get back home every time I go back. What was Biden thinking when, and then you fill in the blank. But we all know that the decreased supply of gasoline is on the back of Joe Biden's policy. Every time he opens his mouth, every time the Secretary of Energy talks, she creates uncertainty. This White House doesn't realize that it takes 2 years to get some type of return of investment from oil exploration and probably 5 or 10 years to pay it back. They just don't get it.
You know, Senator, I think, of course you're right, but I think politically, Biden was insulting them again by not showing up. He was in town. He could have met with them. He could have met with them in the Roosevelt room. And also, in terms of policy, he's giving you. He doesn't care about oil and gas, really. He wants windmills and solar farms and whatever, stuff that's not going to help him get out of this mess. CEOs that I talked to who were in that meeting, they asked Secretary Granholm, Energy Secretary Granholm, they asked her if they could get some regulatory waivers, just some waivers to help out, and the answer was no.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. What we need is a regulatory pause, and that's what the legislation we're introducing is, to have a regulatory pause on anything that would slow down our oil and gas energy. And that's one of the big reasons we're afraid to do any type of more drilling, is because there's just a mountain of regulations waiting for us and slowing down the process. Same things happening in mining, same things happening with fertilizers.
Also, Senator, Biden was saying last week, of course, he's trying to distract attention from his restrictive policies on fossil fuels. But he was saying, oh, did I make a mistake in the war in Ukraine? Well, the reality is Russia's energy production, their oil production and sales are now basically back to pre-war levels, pre-Ukraine, because they got India and China buying the stuff, and there's some price discounts, although not that big, but there are some discounts. In other words, he's making good money on our mistakes, our supply cuts, pushed up prices, and he's the guy, the recipient of this. I mean, that's crazy.
Right. Larry, it looks to me like Joe Biden wants this war to be drug out. First of all, he's slow walking the ammunitions, the military aid over there, and then he's delaying sanctions. So Putin continues to export $1 billion of oil every day. So that's given him the power to run this war, $1 billion a day. And to your point, the sanctions aren't working. Joe Biden is delaying implementing sanctions on the financial energy sector. And further evidence, the ruble's back to pre-war levels, interest rates are back to pre-war levels, and as you pointed out, their oil exports are back to pre-war levels as well. Yep. Joe Biden is actually helping Russia.
I'm afraid so, one way or the other. Senator Roger Marshall, thank you, sir. We appreciate it very much. Talk soon. Folks, I'll be